be ready for that opportunity and don't pussy out, you know, like when that opportunity comes, why not you?
Hey, Greg, good to see
Yeah,
you again this week.
great to see you.
How great was this? How great was this? The Peking episode. We're in the third episode of this month of, we're here with Bobby today. The most amazing Bobby Field, director, um, filmmaker. You know, he's got a few projects in the wind that he's really working on. He's got some stuff that's really kind of cooking right now, that he'll explain. And kind of this episode for you guys at home is basically Success Leaves Clues. And I feel like Bobby is a great representation of that because he's kind of done every job in the film industry, and it kind of came from where he was in music as a bass player and guitar player. And his current project current project that he's written solely on his own is this project called Snake River, and it's been the works for years and years and years. And really, it's a pretty amazing thing. He's had other things happen to him in between that time, and we're going to kind of talk about that. So,
Yeah,
welcome.
We're going to talk.
We're going to talk about it. Well, I just, you know, what's up?
No, kind of. We're
doing it. We're doing it. Yeah. But I want to welcome Bobby Field to the show after that long, really weird introduction.
Bobby.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it very much, but I am not a bass player. I must say that. I play guitar. That's a joke to all my bass player friends out there. You know,
there you go.
They always get the brunt of the jokes in your band. I can play bass, but you know,
slapping the bass.
Don't slap at the bass. No. He doesn't slap at the bass. He slaps at the guitar.
Slap at the guitar, yeah. Huh?
Nice pick on his bio. I like it. So yeah, Mike was telling me about you, and I was excited to just do this. So I mean, welcome.
Thanks, bud. Thank you both for having me. It's be fun.
Oh boy!
Did you want me to roll with was that the setup for me to
no, not at all.
Me?
No. Talking about me. What about me? Let me talk about me. You know how humble I am? I'll tell you how humble I am. But the thing is that, you know, you and I have known each other for a few years now, and we've kind of, you know, we're introduced through our good friend Danilo Lambo. And, you know, what always struck me about you was how go-getter you are and how much you put on the hustle for what you really believe in. And kind of explain to us your story about how you kind of started your journey to LA, because I mean that's where most of this is taking place. You are from South Florida originally, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Miami in the 70s and 80s, when it was the most violent place on earth. I don't know if you ever saw Cocaine Cowboys, the documentary. That was literally my backdrop of my childhood.
I saw that documentary, and it's anybody living in that area during that time, I can't even believe that you're actually alive, like based on that documentary.
Oh yeah.
No, it was crazy. And my parents are English, you know, so they were immigrants. They moved here. We started off in Detroit until I was like 2, and then we moved to Miami. And there, you know, my dad was there for business, and he's a success story, you know, an American dream kind of success story. And they just didn't know any better. You know, they're like, oh, it's the beach and it's sunny. And like, because I remember I got older, I was like, what the hell were we doing there? You know, like that was crazy. There was like people being murdered, like your neighbors would be murdered. Like in the newspapers, they wouldn't even put it in there unless there was, you know, at least 3 people were killed. Then they would put it in. I mean, it was insane. Any bathroom you would go in, everyone was doing cocaine. You know, it was just everywhere. And yeah, it was nuts, man.
How old were you?
Well, from the time I was like 2 until I left when I was 19. So yeah, I mean, it was crazy, but then you do live a normal life amongst that, you know, but you just, it was just a volatile place. Like if you went out with your buddies, a fight would happen. You know, you wouldn't want it to happen, but like it was just a violent place, you know? So when I was 19, I moved to San Diego, and I remember like 2 or 3 weeks went by and I was like, there's no bugs here, you know, like there's no humidity and no one wants to kick my ass. Like
no
I'm
palmetto
gonna get
bugs.
shot, you know, like this is amazing, you know? So,
That was
but
Castro let all the people in prison out, right? And they all went
Yeah.
to Miami.
that's exactly what happened. Yeah. That was the starting point for everything that happened there. Yeah. But yeah, it was nuts. But while I was there, I was one thing that me and Mike hit it off right away. We both are, you know, into the same metal from the same kind of time period.
Mhm.
And so we hit it off right away. But Florida, as you know, was the big death metal scene that was there. And so I grew up, I was a part of that. My first band I was in, I was 10. I was the singer. And it's funny enough, the 2 guys that I was in the band with, were in later their band became Cynic. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Cynic.
Guy from Cynic.
Yeah, we were inseparable. It was Paul Masvidal was the guitar player and Sean Reinert was the drummer. They also did so we split up. We were in band when we were 10, and I think when I was like 16, I started another band called Dark Descent, which became my path, my band that I was going with, and they formed Cynic. But then they also played on the Death Human album, which if you've ever heard that album, it's a classic death metal album. And they were amazing. And I remember thinking that too, like, you know, I was okay, but they were like world class, you know? So I was like, shit, I must suck compared to these guys, you know, because they were like right away, just, I mean, amazing musicians. Sean is one of the best drummers, not to bring the podcast down, but he just passed recently.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about the same age, you know, and we hadn't talked in years, not because we weren't friends or whatever, but just
Life
takes you in different directions. And then this, one of the projects I'm working on that Mike was talking about, it's a rock and roll now television show. It was going to be a movie. He was going to be a part of that. And so this year it would have happened already. He was going to come and I was going to interview him, and we're looking for it. I was going to meet his husband. He was going to meet my wife and my family. You know, that never happened. So I ended up going to the memorial instead. And it was really sad to lose him so quick. You know?
I actually got to see them with Prong at Graham.
Oh, cool.
Geez.
Yeah, a couple years ago, and I was very happy to see them because they were fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah, crazy good musicians. They always were. But when they were little kids, I remember Paul just.
What year did you see Prong?
Probably like 2015 or 16.
It's probably Jason Christopher was playing bass for them then.
I'm sure. Mike, I got in for free because the A&R Roadrunner guy got me in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I'm glad I got to see him. I'm really sorry about the loss of your friend and the bummerness of not. Maybe you can have like some type of memorial for him featured in your.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. They did have a memorial, and I got to go to that, and I saw his sister who I remember we had so many stories with her because, you know, it was Miami and we were kids, but we would go to concerts and she would take us because we were too little to we couldn't drive or whatever, you know, we were like 13 or something. And I remember one time she took us to AC/DC with her boyfriend. I think it was For Those About to Rock. And yeah.
What a tour.
So she got so drunk. I hope she doesn't mind me telling the story. She thinks it's funny. We talked about it at the memorial, but that they couldn't go backstage. They had backstage passes. Her boyfriend, you know, was connected somehow. So me and Sean and my other friend Eric Garcia, who's now an amazing harmonica player and blues guy, but it was the 3 of us little kids, and we're waiting in line in front of us were Rolling Stone, you know, the door guy was checking it, Rolling Stone, nope, get out of here. And they went down about 15 people, and and we're never getting in. We're 3 kids, you know, and we were the last in line. And after he turned everyone down, he said, "So you guys just want to go in and meet the band?" We were like, "Yeah." So we got to go in and hang out with AC/DC, and Yngwie Malmsteen opened up for him so that he was back there too. And drink beers. They drink beers with us, and it was amazing. You know, got to talk with them, and Angus was sitting on a chair with his feet, you know, like not hitting the floor. He's so little, you know, big steak dinner, and really fun time.
Man.
Yeah, but still to this day, she's like, "Damn you guys, I didn't get to go." We're like, "Well, that's your fault." Yeah.
Bobby, they're my favorite band of all time.
Oh yeah, AC/DC.
There are.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good one. I think my first record was For Those About to Rock.
That was your first record ever?
Yeah, well, one of them, because the thing is that AC/DC, my parents had just gotten cable in like 82, 83, something like that. We were living in Harrington Park, New Jersey. And, that was kind of a luxury to have cable in your house. And so I found MTV very quickly. And, I would come home from lunch because I was going to public school at the time. I had to be in the third grade. So I was like 8 or something like that. And so, I would come home and I would watch Aerosmith videos, and the video that we show is this live video of For Those About to Rock.
With the cannons blasting.
With the fucking cannons blasting. That video changed my goddamn life. That and Judas Priest, You Got Another Thing Coming, were the two major things, two records I had gotten first. Next to Men at Work's Business as Usual, which is like whatever. Still a good record, but it's not.
My first one, my sister got Nazareth, Hair of the Dog.
Oh.
And I was a little kid, and I remember going like, I just love this, like I was just digging it. And then from then it was Kiss. And for my 10th birthday, we saw Kiss. My parents took me and my sister and a friend of mine and went and saw Kiss together at 10. And then I think next one was For Those About to Rock. And then from then that's what I did in Miami. It seemed like bands would just Iron Maiden, Dio, like all of them would come all the time. We'd like almost every weekend we'd have another concert to go to, so
that sounds
a lot of fun.
Childhood that I was very much deprived of.
Yeah, I mean, that's when concerts were concerts, man. I mean, it's really with the new news from Live Nation and what they're going to do to bands, and with coronavirus and whatever else, it's, I pray to God that the concert industry is not dying, and that we have those shows that we had before. And I watch, there's companies, there's so many other moving pieces to shows and stuff like that, you just hope that we come out of this bigger and better and brighter,
Going to take some innovators that are actually in bands and companies, like you said, like management companies have to, be innovative. So we'll see. But
I'm trying to do one thing right now. We'll see if it happens or not, but it's Mike was helping me out with it as well. Was talking with one of the clubs that are on the Sunset Strip, and those, I mean, imagine those. It's all about having packed with people, live music. How long can they stay? How long can they stay afloat until? And that would be a real shame to see the Sunset Strip go down. Even though it's not what it used to be.
Yeah, it's not what it used to be. But also the thing is like you're not going to see Viper Room go away. I mean, that's a Live Nation venue. Like Whiskey's a different story. They have and will always be on their own. Hopefully. And they're also national landmarks. I don't see that going away. Troubadour, there's been talk that they're not coming back, which would be a fucking shame. I mean, not to be a downer, it's just the way it kind of goes. But back to you, Bobby.
Yes.
Let's talk about kind of your jump from music to TV and film. I know you've pursued acting for quite a long time and in the arts in general. And you're probably one of the most creative guys I've met because you have so many ideas that you're always working on and trying to bring to fruition. What started that? Where does that kind of seed get planted after the love of music, being in bands at 10 and into your teens, and more so into your teens? Like, where was that jump from Bobby the rock star to Bobby, maybe I want to do acting for a living?
Well, I also played classical guitar in Miami when I was growing up. So I was in a metal band, and then I studied with Carlos Molina, who was Segovia's understudy, but he's a accomplished classical guitarist of his own. So I only mention that part of it is because that's another part that all comes into this one project that you and I met on, Snake River, where I get to, I wrote it, you know, I wrote the music and performed the music in it, and had, you know, amazing musicians. Sin Kieran from Ministry played on it. I had I always forget their name, the Section Quartet. They played with Foo Fighters, and your girl Christina Aguilera they played with. But I mean, amazing, like incredible, like real strings and musicians, you know.
The hottest player in town right now, basically.
Yeah. So,
so cool.
You know, and I'm going to direct it, and I'm going to act in it as well. So that's taking you to the end of the story. So everything that you do in your life can lead to, you think you're, you know, oh, I'm learning this other thing now, or I'm doing this because I have a job. It's a jobby job, but it's still creative. And you think that's all it is, but then you get your 10,000 hours in, and all of a sudden you have a skill that people are paying you a lot of money, and that can, you know, go into your art. And luckily for me, I'm a filmmaker. So all of those things can work their way in. There's music, there's acting, there's directing, there's casting, all of that stuff, you know. But yeah.
And let's kind of talk about that. You not to cut you off, but you kind of have, like I said, jack of all trades in a lot of ways. So you kind of weren't always an actor. You've been a writer, you've been casting director as well, correct?
Yeah. And but it's funny because people will say like, wow, you do so many things, and they like sound impressed, you know. And I'm like, don't be impressed. It's because like if I would have made it as a musician when I was 19, I wouldn't have quit because my band broke up and got into acting, you know. And if I would have made it big as an actor, I mean, I've done plenty of projects and I work, but like if I would have, you know, it's like Ben Affleck and what's his name?
Matt Damon, yeah.
How they wrote Good Will Hunting and won an Oscar, like the first movie that they wrote, and people were asking them like, so, you know, what's next? What are you going to write next? They're like, what are you talking about? We're actors now. We can like star in these movies and have these amazing, you know, we don't have to, we only wrote because we had to, you know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But I'll jump back a little. So the band I moved with to San Diego and to, you know, Southern California. And long story short, it ended up breaking up. But I was the, you know, the singer, I was the manager, I was kind of everything pushing that thing forward, that what Mike talks about, which I'll talk a little about as well, that drive, where does that come from, you know? But, and the band broke up, and it was, you know, I was disappointed because I'm like, man, you know, it doesn't matter how hard I try. If there's one weak link in the chain, then you have to, like our drummer got his wife pregnant and she moved to Kentucky. Trying to find a speed metal drummer in Southern California at that time was not easy, but we found one. And then the guitarist went nuts and he had to go home. And finally the band broke up, and I'm like, you know, I don't want to rely on 4 other links in the chain. And I was in college at the time, and I ended up getting into acting. That's a whole story there too. But I loved it, and I felt like I'm in control, and there's no other weak links. And if I don't make it, then it's my fault. But then I became a filmmaker, and when you see the credits roll at the end of the movie with like 1,000 names, those are all links in your chain. So, you know, the joke's on me at the end of the day. But yeah, that's what happened there. So I got into acting and loved that. I did a theater program for 2 years and did a bunch of lead roles in plays. And then I booked a movie in Los Angeles, which made me move to Los Angeles. And it was Darren Doan was the director. It's called God Money. And I was telling Mike about this. The Fletcher from Pennywise was my,
That's right.
I was a drug dealer because, you know, I had plenty of experience in growing up in Miami.
You know what's funny is I was talking to some of the folks at 5B this morning, and they manage Pennywise. So it seems like every episode we do now, somehow 5B gets mentioned.
Yeah,
Pennywise gets in there.
Yeah. Or just in general, one of their artists. It's kind of funny. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Oh no, but I mean, that was cool, and you know, it was a lead role in a Hollywood movie. I'm putting quotes if you can't see me. And so, you know, I made it. That's amazing. You know, like now I'm here in LA, and let's see what happens next. You know, and then, you know, you may book something here and there. I've always kind of had lead roles in indie films. or smaller parts in bigger movies, but nothing that's really hit and like, and had my career go where that's all I do is act, you know?
Save that thought for 1 second. So the transition from music to acting was really in realizing that you can't control the outcome. You can only control what you are doing, and to not rely on anybody else but yourself. And
Right.
you liked the fact that you can go do that, and you went into acting. And then that industry alone, I mean, how many, it's like a cliche thing. People go to California and want to be an actor, right? Like how many people are writing screenplays right now in Starbucks, or if it was ever open or whatever, if they were out there. I'm going to be so that industry in itself is very competitive, very hard to make it in. And you had somehow pivoted, and you've been able to encapsulate everything that you bring to the table by taking control of your own destiny. That's inspiring. So
Yeah.
Commence where you were, and now you get featured in this film, and now you made it, right?
Yeah. But obviously I didn't make it. The film, but it's a really cool film. If anyone wants to check it out, it's called God Money. And it's, you know, it's from a while ago. It was the first movie I'd ever done. But the soundtrack's amazing. And, you know, it's got a bunch of cool bands like Pennywise and other kind of punk bands like that. But then, yeah, the next lead role didn't come right away, and, you know, doing other things. So, you know, you have to get a job, and that's happened plenty of times with me. And I always just, my criteria is as long as it's creative. And then by then I was into film and that kind of thing. So I'm like, if it's, you know, there's so many subcategories of film, like I did casting for 13 years. You know, and you think, okay, I'm doing this as a jobby job. And I really liked it because I could help my friends book jobs as well. You know, I did commercials for a long time. And so I'm directing every day. My job was to direct the actors, give them notes. Or I say actors, but a lot of times they're like non-union models, which is a great band name. If anyone wants to use that, go for it. But you know, thinking it was my job, and 13 years later, I worked a camera every day. So now, like, I'm a documentary filmmaker as well, and I shoot everything myself. I do the sound myself, all these things that I learned during that 13 years. And then I also learned how to direct non-actors to be great actors in a matter of minutes, you know, as long as it's a line or two.
How about this? So when you went to school you were in theater, like for college, you went to college for acting?
Yeah. Well, I was in college, and there was a theater program at the college, and that's where I started. Yeah.
How do you get into casting? And I'm only saying this because me and my girlfriend have a thing where I think I'm great at like putting people together that look like certain people. And I always do that. Like, okay, so Will Ferrell and Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers, they look exactly alike. I mean,
right.
I knew that in 2001. I was saying that forever. And then all of a sudden it was a thing on Conan O'Brien, and they were like doing
the drum off
thing. But the thing is, I always do this, like where I see somebody look at somebody, and I'm like, so I feel like I have a really good talent for it, but that wouldn't give me any justification for any company to hire me. How did you get into the casting aspect of it? Like, was a casting agent? Like, how do you get into that?
Yeah, and there's no one way to do it. I mean, like anything, you get in at the bottom, and you work for nothing or little amount of money, and you work your way up. But for me, and this is something too, this is when you're asking kind of like, how has this turned into me being somewhat successful at what I do, and instead of it just being a job that does nothing, it's being ready for like an opportunity. And I can talk more about that with the famous musicians that I interviewed for one of the projects that I'm doing. They all had the same quality. We went back, and I said, you know, what was your bridge? What was that one moment where you think, shit, if that didn't happen, I may be still in the factory working, which a lot of them said that. Some of them are English, that, you know, they were working in a factory, and then they got in this band and made it. And all of them, what they had in common was they have like a punk rock, like no fear attitude when it comes to stuff like that. They may have self-sabotage with drugs or girls or whatever it is that goes along with being a rock star. But when it comes to having an opportunity and going for it and not being afraid of failure or success, they all were just like, fuck yeah. I had the opportunity, and I said, hell yeah, you know? But it's true. Yeah. And then, you know, a lot of people that you get that opportunity and you somehow justify it in your mind and you screw it up and it doesn't happen, you know? And I have lots of friends that I watch that happen. And just some that are so talented that it's like, it takes more effort for them not to make it than it would be just to like let go and make it, you know, because of our fears.
Right. Yeah. Let ourselves get away.
Yeah. So something to chew on there. But so what had happened, my buddy Jeff Hightower, we called him the commercial prince. He was one of our actor friends that just booked every commercial that you can think of. You know, the Like a Rock commercial when he's driving his dad's truck all over and they cut everywhere. And then he gets back and his dad goes, "Is that a scratch?" And he turns around and wipes the dust off and goes, "Nope." That thing played. He made like 40, 50, 60 grand off of that commercial, like ridiculous. But he did it for years and years. And then when jobs started not to book as much, he already knew all the production companies and everybody from being an actor. And so he started his own company called Pitch Casting. And by then I could already edit and I was filmmaking already and that kind of thing. So he needed somebody to film it and edit the actors. Now there's a program that does all of that, but at the time there wasn't. And so he asked me if I would help him out. And, you know, 13 years later, I was working for, you know, the best casting places in town. And you know, it turned into a really fun job for me that was really creative. And like I said, in retrospect, I look back and I was like, man, I wouldn't be able to do these projects that I'm doing now if I didn't have that job. And I would have never have known during it, you know.
Way to put things in perspective, really. You know, I sit here and do a bunch of shit myself and I'm like, why am I doing this? And am I wasting my time on certain tasks? And Mike and I talk about it, even doing this podcast. There's a lot that goes into it, even though we're doing a Zoom call and just, it's like, you know, we can't spend our time doing things that are going to be, you know, just not going to get us to the next level.
Counterproductive.
You got to put some places like the production aspect of it, like the editing. And it's good to be able to learn how to do that because listen, you can handle that now. And now you can actually do this on the fly and not leave it in somebody else's hands and not get things done the right way. I think that's really important. There's certain tasks that 10,000 hours really, really does add up and it gives value later on. And you just put that in perspective for us. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. That's the first thing is get the 10, whatever you're doing, get those 10,000 hours in there and then be ready for that opportunity and don't pussy out, you know, like when that opportunity comes, why not you? There's a bunch of other people that you watch doing what you want to do. And I know every artist, you know, we're sensitive and you can have that feeling like, you know, am I kidding myself? Like, why would anyone want to hear my story? Or why would, you know, it's like,
that says
no, why not you?
Don't pussy out. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. So it's as good as
coffee mugs.
You mean the don't be a dick ones?
Yeah.
Get them a Teespring. But you know, to your point, Bobby, you know, I think there's always the time where you're working on your business or your craft or what you're in now, the business that's in the future that you're going towards, and you know, the business that currently is kind of where it's like there's three phases to it. It's like we're planning for the super dream future, we're doing the work now, and this is what we're working on.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really and to your point again, also, you know, why not me? Right? Why not me? And I think definitely embraced that adage, like, why not me? You know?
Yeah. Because you think, hey, who am I kidding? You feel like, you know, am I an asshole thinking that this could happen? It's like, no, look at all these other people. You know, you're as good as that person, and they're you know, they have a mansion.
And I think too, it's like when you start comparing yourself to other fucking people instead of running your own race, that's when shit gets bad.
That's when it gets complicated.
Horrible.
I'm going to ask you the next question, which leads into this next question for this. How do people around you that aren't doing what they want to do in their life respond to what you're doing and all the moves you're making? And how do you handle that without, you know, you're not bragging to them, but at the same point, I want to know if you're doing well. As a friend, like, I care. I want you to do what you do. I'm not a jealous person. I'll be like, you motherfucker. But like, at the same point, I'm happy for you. I have a
Yeah.
lot of people in my life that are not like that. And they don't ask how I'm doing. It's all about them. And then I realize, you know what, maybe I should weed that that person's not for me. That's not the like-minded individual that has my best interests at heart, because I have their best interests at heart. And that's the kind of people I want to be around. So how did that work for you? How did that pan out?
Those people, I don't have one of those people in my life. There's not one. That's like right away you start to realize that if you know, you have friends. I had a girlfriend once that I remember her saying, I was like, you know, helping her with an audition, and I really wanted her to book it. And she's like, yeah, but not really. Right. And I'm like, no, of course, you know, like, and she's like, yeah, but no, none of us really want anyone else to book anything. And I was like, okay, I guess we're done.
Wow.
You know, like for real. That was the beginning of the
wow.
end.
When the narcissistic mindset comes to the front, Jesus Christ.
She was really good looking, so I dated her for like another week. But then that was it. You know, then we cut it. I'm kidding.
Jesus.
But yeah,
Christ.
those people. I mean, they're cancer. They're stay away from them. And sometimes they're family members.
Yeah.
I have zero tolerance for that. You know, I give everybody. There's abundance in the world,
Yep.
and there's no shortage. There's no shortage of acting roles or anything. And if somebody you know is like that, you either have to check them and hopefully they change. And if they don't, you get rid of them. You know?
Yeah.
That's a quality.
Exactly.
That's a lot of people have a hard time letting go. I dated a girl once, and she was very talented, and she just kept saying, but my mom. I'm like, listen, if I worried about what my mom thought, I'd be curled up in a ball dead right now.
Yeah, moms
Same.
can be a doozy for sure. Yeah.
You gotta get over yourself and just fucking pull the trigger. And she got mad at me, and I'm like, okay, listen, don't ask me about showing me all this awesome stuff if you're not gonna do anything with it. I'm gonna push you to do things with it. So I'm sorry, I'm holding you to your potential. That's what I see. I see an amazing potential, and I want you to do things that are great. But most people, they're like, yeah, but I'm not gonna really do that. So I think the thing here is get those fucking people out as soon as possible.
Get those people out, get the bad habits out, the addictions out, all the things that hold you back. Any excuse that you can have for self-sabotaging, get rid of it. You know, however you got to do it, figure it out and get rid of all of that. Yeah. It's too hard, man. You know, like
it hurts when you rip the Band-Aid off, but it feels so good once it heals. Oh yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a marathon. Any career that we're trying to do, either music or movies or any of that stuff, it's like you said, there's how many people live in Los Angeles, and a massive percentage of them have a headshot and resume and call themselves an actor, or they're, like you said,
no.
at Starbucks.
My favorite's the triple threat.
Oh, go.
Yeah.
My favorite is the self-pronounced triple threat. That's my favorite one.
My first film that I ever wrote and starred in and all of that was called Guy in Row 5, and he was a self-professed triple threat. It's a comedy, obviously, but he's everything that I try not to be. You know, it's all ego, like 100% ego. You know,
awesome. They're my ideas. I can share them with you because they're mine, and you're gonna take them.
Yeah.
The old build it and they will come.
Well, you got to go out and put it out there too. You know, you got to go take the risks, because you can write all you want, but if you don't go fucking sit online and do some casting, cattle calls. What the fuck, dude? You didn't put in your, you got to put in the time, dude.
Yeah, but if you don't do that, the points on your Starbucks words card is just going to go up, up, and up.
I want to say something too about what you said. How you mentioned, how do you know if doing the podcast is a productive thing or a counterproductive thing when it comes to your career as a whole and that kind of thing. And I'll get spiritual just for a couple sentences, and then Mike can shut me up. But there's, I think there's rivers, right? There's the universe presents rivers that you can then jump in. They present themselves. It may not be exactly what you planned. You weren't planning to do a podcast, but here you are. You know what I mean? But those rivers, you got to jump in. And if they're moving, if things are happening and there's coincidences happening and it's moving forward, then stick with it. There's something that's going to take you somewhere that you wouldn't expect. And your mind will try and tell you how wrong this is, how it's wasting your time, how it's not going to do it. Shut your mind up, just like those friends that you got rid of, and ride that and see where it takes you. And that's one thing I've learned for a while with that project Snake River. I was just tunnel vision on that thing, because I was like, this thing is happening. It's, it takes all this effort and everything like that. And some rivers just are longer, like, but it's always moving forward. It's always getting bigger and better and better. So I learned to trust that. And then I was able to jump in some other rivers, and then all of a sudden these other projects are happening way quicker. And I could have easily have self-sabotaged those opportunities by saying, no, I'm going to stick with Snake River,
I think that's great, man. So the mindset part it probably is the core of what we talk about. And it's something that everybody should really understand, is when you think a thought and you think something that you want to do, you're inspired, you're like, oh, I want to do that. And then all of a sudden your mind just goes, nah, but you don't need to. You can go watch that Netflix show. And you don't take that inspired action, you're fucking sabotaging yourself. But also you're also making an excuse, and then settling in for that fear and be like, oh yeah, but this person's going to think that or whatever. If you could just not give that thought and emotion, and then just replace it with the outcome. So always, like, I study Neville Goddard. He's a personal development life coach in the past, but he always said, keep the end result in mind. Think about the end result. Don't think about you getting the big check or whatever. Think about what your lifestyle will be like after that. Reverse engineer that. Do not, enjoy the journey, but that end result, and no matter what comes in contact and the way you calibrate things, your frequency, it's like, oh, I'm upset right now, but right after that, just like breathe a couple times, think about something that makes you happy, and get back on that right frequency. And if you could keep doing that throughout these inspired actions that you're taking, which you have done very well, and that's amazing. Thank you for sharing this with us. I think that's what really makes everything a lot easier to digest, in the fact that it can actually be attained, in the fact that, you don't care about what anybody else thinks. You have tunnel vision. You're not wrong for thinking it. And all these outside factors are fucking with you. But at the same point, you're bulletproof, because listen, if I could just control that thought, I'm going to get to where I'm going. That ends there. So fucking awesome, bro.
And you have a target, you have your target, make it as specific as possible, but then be okay with where the universe takes you to it. And that voice you're talking about, I had an acting teacher, Milton Katsalis, who's an amazing acting teacher, but he's dead now.
What was this?
Beverly Hills Playhouse.
Playhouse, yeah. I was gonna say, isn't that Beverly Hills Playhouse? Yeah.
Yeah, and
a lot of people came out of there.
Oh yeah, totally.
My sister took his method at Playhouse West, I think.
That's a different one. That's Stanislavski. Oh wait, sorry, Stanislavski is they're all Stanislavski really, but it's Meisner. Sorry, at Playhouse West.
The technique, but she gave me Katsalis' book. That's a really good book, actually.
Yeah, and in that book is when he says that voice that you hear that's saying, what are you doing? Your podcast isn't going to do anything. He says
you're gonna be nothing.
Yeah, he says picture it like an old woman on like the 5th floor of a building, and you're sweeping the alley. And she's like, why are you sweeping the alley? It's just going to get dirty again. And he said, just ignore it. Keep sweeping. So that's kind of, that's one of my sayings. I say to just keep sweeping, man. Like, it just means just keep going. Don't give up, But on the other hand, if you jump in a river and it feels like you're swimming upstream, then you either need to change something, either you don't have your 10,000 hours, or it's the universe is saying, no, go the other way. You know what I mean? So you have to watch out for that too, that you're not just burning calories for no reason.
Sure.
Are you big into, like, we're, again, personal development, like what kind of inspirational people that you follow that you just named your acting coach, but anything, any books that you read, or like people that you actually listen to that helped you with your journey? Because obviously, it's not easy, right? But you're here. So
yeah, I'm kind of a self-help junkie. I'm always reading at least one book. I love Eckhart Tolle. Is it Tolle or Tolle? Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. Is it Tolle or Tolle? I thought it was Tolle.
I heard it was Tolle, but I could be wrong.
He's German, though.
He is German. Yes, he is.
He puts you in a meditative state just by talking.
Oh, it's our German piano tuner, Greg.
That is only now. How is a great. Did you read that one yet?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So there's an app I go to sleep to at night called Breathe, and his talks are one of the options that you can listen to. He's like, Yeah, he's like, would you really be angry at the traffic jam? No, you wouldn't. Why would you waste energy like that? Hmm?
Awesome. I wish we could go to that.
Uh,
Anyway.
but to answer your question, the main person who's helped me more than anybody was another teacher at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. Milton was my teacher for a couple of years, but Jocelyn Jones, I work with her now. I started in her class when I was early 20s, and you know I'm much older than that now, and I've studied with her for over 20 years. You know, wait, maybe even more. Yeah, less than 30, more than 20 years. And she really helped me, like just from studying with her for a long period of time. She would teach you how to be a better person as well as a better actor. And I learned a ton of lessons from her. Like I can really just think of all of it. And she just wrote a book. And I just finished reading it actually. And it's totally a book that I would read if I didn't know her. It's an amazing self-help book. Yeah.
So
It's called The Artist. It's not out, or just Artist. It's actually right here. I was one of 10 people that was able to read it, which was like such an honor to me, you know, that she would trust my advice on it.
Sure.
But so that should be out, you know, who knows, 6 months or so, and people should look out for that one.
So let's talk about one little thing here. And a question I have for you. You know, I've always approached, whether it's this podcast or other things in entertainment, from an act of service. Is there something bigger than you that kind of draws you to this, to do these projects, to do Snake River, to do, you know, what you do? I mean, I also know that your father as well of two awesome kids, and you know, one of your children has special needs. You know, you seem like a very giving, generous person. There's something about you when people meet you that there's this very giving spirit. Is it always about the bigger picture of giving to or up to something else to kind of feel, you know, as you said, your acting coach, you know, to be a better person? Is that something that's always in the forefront of your mind when you're doing things in the industry?
It's funny because that's the exact question that I wanted to ask you on this podcast. For real. Yeah.
So there you go. Now you're going to answer it, pal.
But it's true. I you know, I thank you all the time because Mike is just an incredible.
Hey, there's going to be no tears on this show. Okay?
He's a really giving dude, but it's a really interesting thing. It's something I haven't seen before. He gives like the phone calls he's made for me and the things he's done for me are amazing. Like people just don't do that, you know? And so I thank him all the time. And he's like, oh, no sweat. And then like, I want to give him a credit and something. He's like, don't want it. You know, like he really doesn't want anything back. So whenever he asks of something from me, which is very rare, if ever, it feels really great to be able to give back because you are a super giver. And I've always wanted to ask that. And I thought it would be great to do it on the podcast when you kind of have to answer is what does motivate you to help that way and not want anything back, and to really, you do come from a place of service. Did you learn that, or is that just the way you are?
I'm going to be absolutely transparent on this one.
Yeah.
I think it comes, actually, I know it comes from and the absolute way it's transformed in my 40s is different now than it was in my 20s. But it came from not having a lot of friends as a kid, knowing that I had to not be nicer or whatever, but I think it came from an area of like a lack of abundance. Like there was not enough abundance. There's never enough friends, and it never was good enough. It never was this. And the thing I knew I could do is if I had something to offer somebody selflessly, that the enjoyment I got from that was absolutely way more rewarding than any money you could ever put in my pocket. You know what I mean? And it solved two things. I got something from the action of giving service to somebody, and they got what they wanted as far as their career goes or whatever else it was. It's not, you know, I don't do things because I expect something in return. It's never been that way. It's nice when it does happen, you know, I'm very grateful for it, but overall, I'll be real honest with you. I do it out of selflessness. It's who I am DNA wise. I think I've always been I was a really nice kid. I think that, you know, it just comes from a, you know, absolute sense of selflessness. I don't want to, I don't know how you describe it. I don't want to, what's up?
You're not an opportunist. You're
Yeah,
somebody.
I'm not an opportunist. Exactly. Like, I'm not here to go, oh, well, I did this for you. Now you need to do this for me.
Fuck
It's
that.
not where I come from at all.
However, when you don't come from that point, I think people
Can take advantage of it as well.
They also want to give. I think you find that the universe opens up for you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think also too, as I got older, you have to be really careful who you give that gift to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Versus when I was younger, I might have been a little bit more naive and said, well, everyone deserves this. No, not everyone deserves this.
And sucks your emotion out. And you have no energy.
Well, yeah, and they mentally and metaphysically just rip you the fuck apart. And, you know, I've been in that situation too. So
yeah. There's givers and there's takers. I feel like there's two types of people in the world.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean,
and
the
takers will
absolutely
take
shitty, the shitty narcissists. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah, but you don't want me to get that acting gig, right? You don't. You wouldn't want that.
Not really.
Not really. Come on.
No,
no one ever
between
wants.
you and me.
Come on.
Get out.
No, but I
curtain
mean,
down,
I mean, kind of wrap that up. I mean, yeah, I don't ever expect anything. I want to see people do good, and I look at it as we're stronger as a community together than we are standing alone apart.
Agreed.
I think there's just too many people. You know, I had a client yesterday call me, and I'm not going to tell if it's a she or he, but this person came to me and said, you know, I need to do this with this and this with that. And, you know, this person was out of work. And I said, send me your resume. Let me see if I can help you. Maybe there's someone in my network who can take a look at you, or, you know, whatever. She's an actress, obviously. Whoops, blew that one out of the water.
We all knew it was a girl.
We all knew it was a girl, bartender. And it's not to, you know, I don't do things for people to, you know, basically, hey, you know, I want something out of you or whatever. It just doesn't work that way.
Gotcha.
It just, you know, I rather see people happy, not stress. I don't like seeing people in pain or struggle. So I'll do everything I can to stop that. And I've gotten better at it where it was more a situation where, you know, I would sacrifice myself in situations, but I've kind of cured that since then.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. So it was a tool at first when you were younger to make friends.
Yeah.
And then you kept that, and then you enjoy watching your friends succeed.
Yeah. I love watching people
great.
succeed. I think everybody deserves the chance to win. I just don't think everyone's designed to.
Yeah. Based on their paradigm, based on not taking the initiative to actually change what they actually grew up thinking was the right thing to do. Now, I always say this all the time. It's like kind of my MO when it comes to my family dynamic. I learned so much more from what not to do for my parents than what to do. And I very much, but I, you know, at a very young age, I was like, not doing that, not going to be in a marriage like that, not going to be like my uncle. Cause my dad would always tell me that. And I'm like, nobody likes that. Why does he keep saying that to me? Fuck, I'm not like that guy. So, and then the other thing is the drumming thing. Like they never wanted me to drum, and I'm a drummer. And it always pushed me to want to do that much more. And Mike, when you met me in the studio, that was when I actually had the time I never got in my house.
He was 16, living in a fucking
studio
rehearsal space in northern New Jersey. It wasn't like he was living in a rehearsal space in Hollywood.
Yeah, no, it was like Bergen County, New Jersey. So.
Yeah, like you never even knew that this place was a rehearsal studio. It was like in the back roads of like suburban New Jersey. Actually, New Jersey.
We had one too in Miami, and our bass player lived there. So.
Yeah.
That's a true art player, man. Like if you're living out of the studio, like you're living the life, you know, of an artist. You know, I don't want to live there, but I don't mind. At least I get to get up and do drums every day. I get to play drums.
Sure.
You know, again, it's like,
and I would look at him and I was like, you know, I'm 10 years older than him at that point, and like, or 8 years older than him at that point, and I'm like, Greg, don't you have a family? Like we live in a community at this time where it's like kids and families aren't doing this. So I was like, this kid's got something special going on as far as musicianship goes. Like he's got the dedication. He's ready to sacrifice it all.
Maybe it was reverse psychology, but I knew how to drum before I knew how to drum. I knew how to play instruments before I knew how to play. I just would pick them up and start learning. And for some reason, I'm like, I was always grounded. So that's why I left the house, because I'm like, if you're going to keep grounding me and I'm 16, this isn't going to work. I need to meet girls, and you're ruining my adolescence here.
Ruining my life.
So I just I did that, and that's when I met him. So, I mean, yeah, man, it's, and then the other thing is just, just believing in yourself and not just being an action taker and not being a follower. And I think the podcast was started because of the fact that we wanted to give value back to the people like us that are really want to hear.
I mean, to Bobby's point, like months ago, said to me, he's like, man, you got this like killer phone book. Like,
do something with it.
You do something with it. And the thing is when, and Bobby can tell you like straight up, like, for years now being a financial advisor, I'm like, no, I've left the business and blah, 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 blah. And this guy at my coffee shop named Michael T. Gray said to me a few months ago, and this was right before the pandemic hit and right before everyone's locked down in California, he goes, and he's from like Trinidad, I think. He goes, the business needs Michael Jackson back.
That's great.
I was like, you know what? He's kind of right.
What if we just put a picture of Michael Jackson on your face and you just spoke behind it? Like, that'd be pretty cool.
Can we just not do that? Did you not just hear the story that I just told, like, of why things are the way they are?
Woo! Oh man,
how's your relationship with your parents now?
You, Greg.
Me?
You.
Oh, my father. So when I was 19, they moved to Florida. I stayed here. I'm 37 now, by the way. And I lied. I said I
grew up so fast.
I had a place to live and I had nowhere to live. So I was basically on the street for a good 2 years before I got my first apartment. But my dad, I earned his respect by just, if I went with them and had to live with them like my sister did, God bless her. And by the way, good advice for anybody that's being able to live with their parents. Take advantage of it. Save your fucking take advantage of it, because I never had that chance, and I'm not complaining or making excuses, but if you have that chance, do it. So I didn't do that, but my dad, he was very interested. He was a musician himself and in the Army. So we were very close after that. But I'm very close with my mother as well, but there's a cutting point where, there's only so much you can listen to before it starts affecting what you're doing. So it's like, I love you. I'm going to listen to you up to this point. That's why you're my parents, and I could not agree with you and not like the way you're acting right now, and then come back to you later and just kind of move on. So we're good now, but my father passed away 2 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
We're very close. It's okay. But it happened suddenly, and actually inspired me to go into the studio and record my own solo stuff that I've never done before. So, and I did it very efficiently, and I got it all done. And you're talking about writing things on the fly. So I can't play with another drummer because there's no other drummers around here to play with, really. So it's like, it inspired me to do that. And that's all he ever wanted me to do, is like, play your own music. Well, I like your songs. So like, do your own stuff. I'm like, okay.
So you kind of turn this back to you, Bobby.
Now back to
you in the studio, Bobby. Let's talk about you and projects and creativity and stuff that's kind of happened in the past 2 or 3 years. Snake River to me has always been a really sexy project. I don't know how much you can talk about it due to NDAs and stuff like that and people that you have attached to it. But, explain two things. First off, explain Snake River and why you did it, and then tell us about how now you're making these documentary films that are amazing about like Italian chefs and stuff like that. And it's kind of given grist to Snake River, right?
Yeah. So Snake River was originally a movie called The Bridge. And so I, wrote the script, which is an accomplishment on its own. If you've ever written a feature, you get that. I finished the feature or finished writing it. And the whole thing was about this guy who has this awakening musically and writes this incredible music that like changes. Like, I really kind of made a challenge for myself. I hadn't played music in 15 years after I quit the band. So 15 years later, I write this script. And then, I was a classical musician and I was a speed metal singer in a band and guitar player. And So I didn't know what was going to come out. I didn't know what the music was going to be. And for like a year, this music just came out of me that was different. It's still kind of rock and roll, but it's got like girl backup singers. It's got strings. It's got electric guitars, drums, bass. It's this big sound, you know? But at first they were just songs of me and my guitar, me and the acoustic guitar. So that was really cool because it was one of those times when you have Quentin Tarantino calls it the God stick, you know, where like it's the inspiration, it's the muse or whatever. And these songs just for a year straight just kept popping out. And every one of them, like, I don't think any of them got cut out. Like I didn't write one that we didn't end up using, you know? So it was a really amazing experience. And it was just having music pent up in me for 15 years, you know, and it came pouring out, which was great. And I had a 11-piece band, played at all those clubs that I always wanted to play at that I didn't do with my other band in LA, except for Troubadour. So let's hope that they don't close, because that's the one bar I haven't, the one place I haven't played yet. But I've played all the other ones multiple times, and there's a whole story with that, how that happened, which was really cool. And then it just kept developing more and more. You know, I had to do the music took a while, and then I had to perfect it. Then we had to record it, and we had to do all these things, rewrites on the script, but always moving forward, always attaching new people, having, famous musicians attached to it as well that were going to act in it.
How'd you do that?
Sorry?
Get in touch with the famous musicians to do.
I knew one guy that knew Joe Elliott. And he got in touch with Joe Elliott. Once Joe Elliott said yes, then all these other musicians are like, "Oh, Joe Elliott's a part of it, then fantastic," you know. Joe Elliott from Def Leppard. Which
my
is great.
favorite.
We did a bunch of
my favorite.
We did a bunch of interviews and that I cut together, and we had this whole campaign that was really great. But the money, I had an executive producer who did great. She did her best, but couldn't come up with the money. And we did a crowdfunding campaign that raised a lot, that paid for some music, but it didn't make enough to make the film. Which I maybe had a day or two of like, oh, damn it, what am I going to do now? And then these other producers got involved, and all of a sudden now it's going to be a television show. And I only changed the name of it to Snake River because there's already so many The Bridges. There's a TV show. There was, another movie.
It's based off of what you said before, like everything's like a river. You jump in and you just let it take you where it needs to go.
Figuratively, yeah. It's not. That's the undercurrent. Every character in it kind of crosses their own bridge by the end of or doesn't. And by the end of the movie. But there is a literal bridge. That's this little town, and it's the only way in and out of this town is this bridge, and it's got its own secrets that you get revealed as it goes. But it's a little town that's full of artists and musicians, a little mountain town, and cool things happen, and they get inspired, and the drama ensues and the comedy ensues. But now it's really cool because at any point, if I would have gotten the money that I needed at the time, like one time it was a $4 million movie, and we were having investors, and almost happened, but it didn't. It felt like a failure. But then the next river happened with it, and if it ever died, it would just die. I would be like, okay, fine. I've been kicking this thing down the road for 13 years. Let's move on. But it hasn't. It just keeps growing and growing, So, and then if it would have happened at that time I was just telling you about, I would have made $1 million film, which is nothing for a movie. I know it's a lot of money in the real world, but in the movie world, it's not a lot. But I know it would have been a really great movie just because I know it would have. But luckily that didn't happen, and because now it's going to be a television show, and every episode is going to be more than that $1 million for the whole movie, So there's a pilot, and I have an incredible producing team that I've done some of my favorite television shows of all time that are a part of it. And the coronavirus didn't help matters because everything's shut down, as and even when they open back up to try and get a show picked up that's going to have a massive crew and people flying in from all over the world and that kind of thing, it's not the best time in the world for that. But in the meantime, Mike was talking about the Italian chef. His name's Eduardo Baldi.
Mhm.
has Ebaldi in Beverly Hills. Best meal I've ever
wow.
had in my life, for real. Like incredible chef, like the real deal. And
Italian,
we've been, sorry,
Italian cuisine.
Italian, yeah.
Yeah.
He's from Tuscany. And
Nice.
so uh, I was saying how Snake River has been 13 years and now it's closer than it's ever been and it's really exciting and all of that stuff. But this other show has been less than a year that I've been working with Ito, and it's already further than Snake River is. Like it's happening, you know, and it's pretty crazy. We're going to be, you know, we went to Saudi Arabia and Russia and Italy. I flew into Italy. When I left Russia, there was nothing about the coronavirus, anything to do with Italy. And when I landed in Italy and my phone came on, you know, once you land, it's
Yep.
Northern Italy, quarantine, blocked off. We're like, you know. But if we would have missed that by like one more day, we wouldn't have went, you know, like we were there and then we were there for 4 days. We shot a ton of stuff. And then I came home and then LA locked down and I was home and edited everything for like, you know, a couple months. That's all I did. For the people are like, how you doing with the lockdown? I'm like, dude, I've just been editing the
I'm
entire time,
great.
you know? Yeah. But
Right? You know, all the things
sorry?
all the things you got to do. You're doing. You're keeping busy.
Yeah, and it was a river that I was like, what? You know, a chef and a documentary. But it was great because I can do all those things now. So I shot everything sometimes with multiple cameras. Like you're watching it, you'd never believe in a million years that it wasn't a full crew, you know, because, but I did the sound, mic'd everybody, had headphones, and I'm shooting it all and chasing them all over the world, you know, and so that's pretty cool. And that's from all the jobs I've had leading up to now, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Success that parlay into other opportunities that utilize the experience that you had, you know, have gained from all those years of all those different, you know, compartments that you put together. It's pretty impressive, dude. I was listening to a podcast, Joe Rogan, yesterday, and they were talking about Ben Stiller being the director and how Robert Downey Jr. when they got asked him to play a black man, and how
Oh
he
yeah.
that, and then how working with Ben Stiller is similar to the way you are. He takes everything, the music, the camera angles, everything. He's all over the place, and then he can go act and like get into it. I love that whole thing, dude. I'm really looking forward to watching this, and then your show that with the Italian chef. And when is that premiering? How's that work?
It's not shot yet. We're going to go to Italy and shoot the show, but it's with one of the major agencies, you know, talent agencies, and we've been partnered with a production company, and now we have a shopping agreement to bring it to the major, you know, Netflixes and those kind of things. So it's not picked up yet. So when I say it's happening, I mean it's like it's flying forward, you know, like it
in the
could come to a
embryo
screeching halt.
stages.
Yeah.
Embryo
But I mean,
stages.
that is the opposite. The coronavirus was perfect for that, because it won't be a big crew. It'll be me and a few other people in the crew. And it's kind of the same as when the writer's strike happened years ago. That's what started reality TV. This is a docuseries. People are already interested in docuseries like, you know, Tiger King and that kind of thing.
Oh my.
So there's already an interest for those. People are watching them a lot. But now, because of the pandemic, it's a show that we can actually make and not have, you know, 100 people on set and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it probably wouldn't be a smart thing to shoot right now, but who knows, in a couple months, it could be all right to do. So and those platforms are looking for content like
at
that.
this point.
So it really was just like, talk about the universe following a river. That was a gig too. I was being paid to film him, and it's turned into, now I'm a co-creator of a show with production company with Eduardo, and Rochelle is my other business partner. And
Bobby,
but I mean, but it just shows you, you know, like things can happen like bang, 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 bang. But then I know that when Snake River, finally, when I step on set to shoot the pilot, is going to be the biggest accomplishment of my life. And then, you know, and I know it's coming, but it's just a longer river, you know?
Right.
So let's touch on that part of how everybody's in a holding pattern, and we'll kind of close up with this. And want to give you a chance too to promote. I think you pretty much have what you're working on, but really, like we had a guest, or the episode that premieres not today when people hear this, but we're filming this at the end of June. But what do you see kind of the post and I mean that sounds so John Carpenter grim, but like the post pandemic way that people are going to do production moving forward until we maybe find a vaccine, let's just say.
Man, there's, I guess the town already kind of opened up on like Tuesday. They had restrictions, how many people can be on set and that kind of stuff. But, I'm even seeing with casting, one of my casting friends had a picture of him with the shield over his face and a mask on. And he's like, first day back at casting. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like you're in a room and just, hundreds of people coming in and out of that room, and they're going to have their masks off while they audition and then put it back on. They have, you're not allowed to fill the lobby up. You have to wait in your car, things like that. But I mean, man, it's just not worth it right now, but I think I'm an optimist. So I think that in a year's time, we'll have vaccine, we'll moved on from it, hopefully, unless it's the earth super pissed at us and the fires and the other thing, the rising temperatures haven't worked. So this is the next phase.
Changeover event. Look out for that next, mark my words. We won't go into it now, but that's what they're all diverting us with.
Oh, you hippie, stop.
It's the cycles of the earth, the electromagnetics that people think.
Oh, EMP?
EMPs, dude. They put out grids, and that shit happens every couple hundred years, and it's gonna, trust me. I'm not gonna go into it now, but mark my words. So
yeah, but it's a shit show out there, as we all know right now, for so many reasons. But hopefully it'll go back to the way it was. If it doesn't, we still have to have movies. We still have to. There's no way we can not have music or movies. Well,
sure.
Why live?
Right.
No, exactly. Why without art? Look, brother, amazing to have you here today. Pearls of wisdom is the way I look at this.
Amen. Just barnacles on an old fucker, So.
Oh, hey, better get scraped, pal. Get scraped. Dude, such a pleasure having you on the show. I mean, our viewers got so much out of this, I hope. And I know I did as well. Thanks for being on the show, man. It's been really a pleasure.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. If I was going to plug one thing, it would be
go for
it. I acted in a movie. That's a whole other fun story too, but I ended up editing it. I was hired as an actor and then became the editor after the first edit. And that's on Netflix right now, and it's called Jezebel.
Yes.
So you can check that out.
Yeah, I still need to watch that, and it's now on the queue. So maybe tonight I will sit down with a warm glass of milk and some cookies and watch Jezebel.
A warm glass of milk?
Warm glass of
milk. It's
the
little film that just kept going and going. It won awards and did all sorts of amazing things, and then ended up on Netflix. So amazing director.
You play like a real bastard in it too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're like a really bad dude in it.
Well, it's a true story, and so I was the boyfriend of the director that's also acts in the movie. He's not a horrible guy. He's just a freeloader, kind of, doesn't get a job and pull his weight really. But he's kind of a dick, actually.
Anyway, Bobby, such a pleasure to have you on here, man. And we'll be talking soon.
All right, brother.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Whoa, good one.
Dude, I mean, every time we have an interview, it has its own unique, not nostalgia, but like its own thing going on. Like it's special in its own way.
Certain je ne sais quoi to the guest.
Je ne sais quoi?
Je ne sais quoi. You know, the thing is man, I gotta stop saying, but the thing is with Bobby, he just, again, like I said, like I asked him the question, like, where do you get the drive from? Where does it come from? And kind of turn that one around on me. But,
it's great that, by the way, which it was, you got to understand the way that works with the audience listening is it gives back edification to the show.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, you know,
Listen,
it's just I don't know. I get to this point of the show and like I always am like, well, we should just sum it up into something. The way I would sum that up is like keep pushing. He's worked Snake River for 13 years.
and look how many come from him pushing himself to do that out of that.
But it's also putting it out there to kind of go, you know what? I'm gonna receive other things as far as work goes to collateralize my passion project. And Snake River is his passion. He didn't go into the full thing about what Snake River is, and I don't know if I can say.
Well, he did,
but it's yeah, but
I got you.
The story of it. I mean, when he explains it at a pitch meeting, it's very dark.
It's a dark comedy.
Yeah, no, it's not even a comedy. It's for real.
Well, a town of actors and artists is pretty fucking unique and cool. I want to watch it just because of the plot that the main general plot that he said. Like that's something I would definitely want to watch.
Yeah,
a lot of people would want to watch.
I feel it's kind of got like the darkness of Ozark meets like the serial of like the Sopranos. Would be the best way to describe it.
Hybrid, if I ever heard one.
Yeah, but like the serial of Sopranos and like the darkness of Ozark.
That's awesome.
So anyway, man, great show. Let's talk real quick just so we have it to give to our viewers. By the way, today when we're taping this, the Steve Shaw episode number 4 came up. We're at the end of the month. We're into 4 episodes. We appreciate your guys' subscribership. By the way, the Steve Shaw episode, it just goes to show our audience is absolutely growing towards the end of June and going into July, and this will air probably third week of July.
Yeah.
It's the fastest rising episode we've had. Mostly we're doing about 10 spins to 50 spins a day. We literally within the first 2 hours had almost 30 spins.
Well, that makes little Greggy happy.
And it makes Michael very happy. What I'm saying to that is that we really appreciate your viewership, guys. And, you know, we're going to keep giving it because you guys keep getting it. So
we'll bring the content and, you know, you just bring your ears and your eyes and your comments.
Yeah. We want to hear your comments. Also go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, click like and review and follow on all those platforms because we want to definitely keep you guys as an audience and we want to be able to send you free kudos and good stuff. Also go to the musiccombineNow.com, join our mailing list because we have some free stuff we're going to start giving out over the next few weeks. Can't talk about it yet. Also, it looks like August is slowly getting locked up.
Lock it up.
We're going to have some amazing guests. I can't announce it yet, but follow our Instagram at Music Combine, the Music Combine now, or is it just Music Combine? I never know, dude.
Musiccombine.com. We have an email.
Yeah. But the Instagram though.
The Instagram is the Music Combine.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. Yep. And you know, go there, follow us, like us, send us your comments, your well wishes, your hate mail, whatever you want. Smoke signals are accepted as well. And another great show, Greg.
Yeah, man.
The beginning of the month.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to continued awesomeness with you.
You too, brother. Talk soon.